Divine Masculine, listen carefully. There comes a point in your twin flame journey when everything you've been avoiding finally demands to be seen. A point when the pressure that's been quietly building inside your chest can no longer be ignored. Perhaps it starts subtly, an uneasy feeling on cold nights, a restlessness under your skin as the days grow shorter. You find yourself waking in the middle of the night from dreams of her, heart pounding, her name on the tip of your tongue. But then one day you wake up and hardly recognize the man staring back at you in the mirror. The love you carry for her is still there, burning quietly, but all the numbness and denial you wrapped around it are falling away. The life you built to feel in control suddenly feels hollow, and the emotions you buried for so long are rising to the surface like a tide you cannot stop. You notice the shadows under your eyes, the tightness in your jaw from all the unspoken feelings clenched inside. The person you used to project to the world, calm, cool, in control, feels like a costume that no longer fits. And beneath it is a raw truth, a vulnerable heart that you are finally seeing in the reflection. The mask is slipping, revealing the pain and longing you refuse to acknowledge. Something fundamental within you is shifting, cracking the old shell of who you thought you had to be. It's bewildering, isn't it? To feel so much, so suddenly. You might even ask yourself if you're going crazy. Why now? Why all at once? But what you're feeling isn't random. The timing of this inner upheaval is no accident. The universe has been quietly orchestrating this breaking point, and the solstice acts as its trigger. This is the energetic crossroads of the year, the darkest night giving birth to growing light, and it's shining on every shadow you've tried to outrun. It likely gave you gentler warnings long before now. Small heartbreaks, moments of loneliness, intuitive whispers telling you to change, but you didn't listen. So now the whispers have turned into a roar. When the soft lessons are ignored, life has a way of amplifying them until you cannot turn away. That's what this moment is. You're sensing an urgency you can't explain, a pressure on your spirit that grows by the day, because something within you knows, you can't hide from this any longer. It's not just in your head. The more you try to shrug off these thoughts of her, the more forcefully they return. You might find her face appearing in your dreams, or her name coming up in conversation unexpectedly. Little reminders of her show up everywhere, as if the universe is deliberately weaving her into your days. You catch a familiar scent that brings a memory of her rushing back, or you hear a song and suddenly your eyes burn with tears you didn't know were there. These synchronicities aren't mere coincidences. They are messages, reflections of what your soul can no longer ignore. Every sign is pointing you back to the truth you've been running from. For so long, you survived by hiding. You kept your heart at a distance, convinced that if you never let yourself fully feel, you could never fully break. Avoidance was your shield. You chose silence over vulnerability, distance over confrontation. Whenever emotions ran high, you found ways to shut them down, drowning them in work, in mindless distractions, in the cold logic of a mind that sought to keep control at all costs. And for a while, you believed it was working. You told yourself that staying guarded kept you safe from pain. You let her reach out while you held back, thinking if you ran far enough, the intensity of what you felt would loosen its grip on you. Perhaps a part of you was even smug in your certainty that she wouldn't really leave. You figured she just needed time to cool off, that any day now she would reach out like she always did. In those early days of her silence, you may have even tried to focus on other things, confidently telling yourself it would all blow over. After all, hadn't she forgiven you every time before? But even as you ran, you always knew she was there, didn't you? In the back of your mind, her love was a constant you secretly relied on. Even while you avoided labels, commitments, or deep conversations, you were certain of one thing, that she would never truly leave. She was your safety net, the steady light in the background of your life. You counted on her forgiveness before you even apologized. You assumed her warmth would always be waiting, no matter how cold or distant you became. That quiet confidence in her loyalty was the comfort you wrapped around your heart, a permission slip for your silence. Deep down, you knew she was hurting during those times you pulled away. You could see the confusion in her eyes when you gave her mixed signals, the silent tears she fought back whenever you shut down emotionally. And for a moment it tugged at you, a flicker of guilt, an urge to reach out and comfort her. But your fear was louder. You told yourself it was better this way, that you were protecting both her and yourself by not getting too close. In your mind, you framed your distance as kindness, as if keeping her at arm's length would hurt less than fully loving her and possibly losing her. It was a lie you fed yourself to feel better about the pain you were causing. Because the truth is, by trying not to hurt her then, you ended up hurting her more. And now, that same pain circles back to you. Karma? Destiny? Maybe it's just the simplest lesson. You cannot avoid heartache by refusing to love. You only trade one kind of pain for another, deeper one. But that comfort is slipping away now. Can you feel it? The shift in her energy happens slowly, then all at once. Where once you could always sense her concern, her patience, her unwavering presence holding space for you, there is now an unexpected quiet. She isn't chasing you anymore. She isn't extending endless compassion at the cost of her own heart. The texts that used to come, no matter how distant you were, have dwindled. The way she once looked at you, with hopeful, forgiving eyes, has turned into a calm, unreadable resolve. It's not anger, it's something far more disarming, it's her absence. And you feel that absence like a hole in your chest. It dawns on you in moments both big and small. You reach for your phone to share a random thought or small victory, and remember there's no guarantee she'll be on the other end anymore. You come home from a long day and there's no loving message waiting to greet you like there used to be. The quiet is everywhere, in the emptiness of your inbox, in the evenings once filled by her laughter. Every corner of your life that her love used to light up now feels dimmer. Even the pursuits and comforts that once made you happy seem to have lost their spark. You achieve something at work and catch yourself looking around for someone to tell, and it hits you that the one person you yearn to share it with is not there. You try to enjoy a movie, a game, a night out, but everything reminds you of how you used to feel when she was a part of your world. Without her encouragement, without her laughter or her listening ear, even your joys feel muted. Life, in her absence, has lost some of its color. At first, you might have brushed off the change. You told yourself she was just busy, that this distance was only temporary. Perhaps you even muttered under your breath that she was being dramatic. Perhaps a part of you was even smug in your certainty that she'd never truly move on. You figured she just needed a little time to cool off. Any day now, she would reach out like she always did. You might have distracted yourself with work or friends, confidently assuring yourself it would all blow over. But day by day, the truth has been sinking in. She isn't standing in the same place waiting for you anymore. And that realization sends a jolt through your entire being. Suddenly, the silence you once cherished feels like a punishment. The space you asked for feels like it's swallowing you whole. You find yourself checking your phone at odd hours, hoping to see her name light up your screen. You linger on her social media, looking for traces of her life, wondering if she's okay, or if she's learning to be okay without you. Every unanswered message, every day of quiet becomes evidence that the comfort you relied on has vanished. And as the days pass, the memories of her become both comfort and torment. You recall the little things, the way she'd send you a silly meme in the middle of the day just to make you smile, or how she remembered the tiny details of your stories that no one else cared about. You remember the warmth of her voice late at night when you were anxious, how she could calm you with just a few gentle words. Those moments play on repeat in your mind now. Back then, you might have taken them for granted or brushed them off. Now they are treasures you cling to. Each memory is tinged with the pain of knowing you might never experience those moments again if you continue on the path you're on. The thought of a future without her kindness, without her understanding and goofy jokes and deep talks, feels unbearably cold. In reflecting on all this, you recognize just how profoundly she touched your life, and how lost you feel imagining a life completely absent of that warmth. And in that void, a new feeling creeps in: fear. Not the old fear of commitment or vulnerability that you knew so well, but a deeper fear, the fear of truly losing her. What if she never comes back? What if the one soul who ever really saw you has finally decided to walk away for good? These questions haunt you, keeping you up at night. You might wake in the early hours, heart racing, as the reality hits you over and over. she's really gone, and it's your doing. Your mind tortures you with possibilities. You imagine her smile finally returning, but not because of you, because of someone else. The idea of another man listening to her stories, making her laugh, holding her when she's sad, it sends a spike of anguish straight through you. You never let yourself think about this before. You always assumed you'd have another chance, that she'd hold space for you indefinitely. But now you can't escape the scenarios playing out in your head, her hand in someone else's, her heart slowly healing and learning to be happy without you. You feel a jealousy that surprises you with its intensity. It's not born from mere possessiveness or ego. It comes from a raw realization that you gave her every reason to seek elsewhere the love and security she deserved. If she finds with another what she longed for from you, you know it will be nobody's fault but your own. And that truth is hard to swallow, but it's there, staring you down. The shock of it is that now you're feeling everything you once made her feel. The roles have quietly reversed. The runner has run out of road, and the chaser isn't chasing anymore. For the first time, you taste the loneliness and doubt that used to live in her heart, and it cuts deep. The anxiety in your stomach, the heaviness in your chest, the constant overthinking, these are echoes of the very pain she carried while you kept your distance. The realization is sobering. Every moment you left her in uncertainty, every time you withdrew without explanation, she felt this ache. And now, that same ache has found its way to you. With that understanding comes a newfound respect for her strength. You begin to ask yourself how she managed to hold on as long as she did, loving you through the loneliness and confusion your distance caused. Here you are, unraveling after enduring only a fraction of the uncertainty she lived with. How did she do it? Suddenly you see the courage in her that you overlooked before. She was incredibly strong to keep believing in you despite the pain. That realization humbles you. For the first time, you truly appreciate the depth of her heart, the patience it took to stand by, the unconditional love it took to see the best in you when you couldn't see it in yourself. And you can't help but think, how could I have put her through that? All the moments you avoided come back to haunt you now. You see flashes of the past, instances that once seemed small, now magnified by remorse. You remember the day she stood in front of you with tears in her eyes, asking for honesty, and you turned her away because you couldn't deal with it. You recall the nights she begged you to just talk to her, while you sat in stony silence, pretending not to hear the crack in her voice. You wince at the memory of the last time you saw her face fall when you casually dismissed her feelings, thinking she'd bounce back like she always did. In those moments, you were so lost in your own fear that you couldn't see hers. Now, feeling this emptiness, you'd give anything to go back and do it differently, to hold her instead of push her away, to listen instead of shutting her out, to fight for the connection instead of fighting to maintain your walls. But you can't rewrite those chapters. They are written, in both of your hearts, and the ink of those mistakes stains your hands now. The only thing you can do is learn from them, and vow never to hurt her like that again if life grants you another chance. Your ego fights this understanding at first. It tries to throw up old defenses, whispers that she was too demanding, that you had no choice but to pull back, that you were just protecting yourself. You remember telling yourself you weren't ready, that she expected too much, that someday you would make it right when the time was better. But now, in this emptiness, those justifications ring hollow. What felt like valid reasons before now feel like thin excuses. The story you used to tell yourself, that it was safer to run, that she'd always be there waiting, is falling apart under the weight of reality. With no one left to blame and no comforting lie left to hide behind, you're finally looking in the mirror without illusions. One by one, the lies you told yourself are exposed. The lie that she'd always be there no matter what you did. The lie that you were better off, without deep emotional entanglement. The lie that needing no one made you strong. In this new light of truth, those beliefs show their true colors, fear, plain and simple, masquerading as logic. What you called freedom was actually loneliness in disguise. What you called strength was just avoidance wearing a brave face. You even bought into that old conditioning that a man should never be too vulnerable, that staying distant made you more in control. Now you see that was a myth that led you nowhere. Every story your ego spun to justify pushing her away is unraveling, thread by thread. And as it does, it reveals the raw vulnerability underneath, the part of you that has always just been afraid to be hurt, afraid to be seen, afraid you might not be enough. And here is another truth emerging. The pain breaking you now is pain you unwittingly created. By shutting out her love, you invited emptiness. By hurting her, you ultimately hurt yourself. This realization lands like a hard lesson. Every tear of hers that you caused has become a weight on your own heart. It was never her pain alone. It was always yours too. In seeing this, you also see that if your actions could cause this heartbreak, then your actions can also end it. The power to destroy and the power to heal have always both been in your hands. Look at what's surfacing now, the truth that was buried under all those layers of avoidance. What is that truth telling you? That you care more than you ever let on. That you love her, perhaps you always have, in a way that scares you because of how real it feels. And with this truth comes a new kind of urgency. Because for the first time, the fear of losing her is greater than the fear of opening up. Everything that once seemed so intimidating, being vulnerable, taking responsibility, offering commitment, now feels not only doable, but necessary. The fear of change, of facing your own demons, of letting your guard down, all of it is now smaller than the looming reality that she could slip away forever. The equation of your life has fundamentally changed. The risk of change is now far less terrifying to you than the risk of regret. You used to be terrified of the intensity of this connection. Now you're terrified of the emptiness that its absence brings. You think back to all the uncanny moments you shared with her, the way her presence could quiet your racing mind, or how simply holding her gaze felt like recognizing something ancient and true. Deep down, you always sensed there was a sacredness to your connection, a feeling that defied logic, like knowing her soul before you knew her name. You tried to ignore it, rationalize it away, but it was always there. Now those memories flood you, painting in vivid color what your fear made you turn away from. This was never a casual love. It has always been something rare and profound, the kind of bond souls wait lifetimes to find. And that realization, coupled with the rising panic, makes your heart clamor with a single truth: she is worth any risk. Your soul is trying to tell you what your pride would not. She matters more to you than your ego, more than your comfort zone, more than any excuse. And if you don't act, you could lose her. That understanding hits you like lightning, a flash of blinding clarity amid the darkness you've been wandering through. So the pressure builds, day after day, until something inside you cracks. Maybe it happens on a quiet night when the weight of it all becomes unbearable. Maybe it's on the eve of the solstice itself, the longest night of the year, when the outer world is dark and still, matching the darkness you feel within, that everything inside you finally comes undone. You break down and cry in the dark, racked with sobs that have waited a lifetime to be released. It's as if every heartbreak, every unspoken apology, every suppressed tear comes flooding out of you all at once. Or perhaps anger surges through you first, anger at yourself, at the situation, at the fate you think is punishing you. You might slam your fist against the wall or shout where no one can hear, trying to expel the turmoil that has become your constant companion. And then, after the storm of emotion, you just sink into stillness. In that raw, vulnerable moment, you can feel your heart open in a way it never has before. You are not the composed, put-together figure you tried to be. You're simply a human heart laid bare. The ego's voice grows quiet, and the soul's voice, which speaks in feelings and intuitive knowing, finally has the floor. It tells you the truth plain and simple. You can't go on like this. Divine Masculine, understand this. You are not going crazy, you are waking up. You are not being punished by the universe, you are being pushed by it. You are not losing her love. You are losing the illusions that kept you from truly honoring that love. This breakdown you're experiencing isn't the end of you. It's the breaking of a shell that was never the real you to begin with. The part of you that could lie to yourself, that could take her for granted, that could run and hide, that part is what's dying. And it needs to die for the man you're meant to be to finally emerge. You are not breaking down, you are breaking through. The message from your soul is unmistakable. Something has to change. You have to change. Not tomorrow, not someday, but now. This pain you're feeling isn't here to destroy you. It's here to push you through the threshold of transformation. It's an initiation, not a punishment, and certainly not a romantic fairy tale. The solstice pressure that's breaking you is forging you, preparing you to either rise as the man, the true divine masculine, you were meant to be, or fall back into the shadows of the wounded self you've been living in. In other words, this energy is challenging you to step into your highest self or lose everything that truly matters. The only version of you that can have a place in her life now is the one who isn't afraid of responsibility and growth. In this moment of raw clarity, you finally understand that you can't win her back with empty promises or half measures. If you want her in your life, you must become the version of yourself who deserves a place beside her. You also know that anything less will not be enough. She has found her worth and will not betray it again, not even for you. Gone are the days when a quick apology or a temporary gesture would fix things. She will accept only proof, only consistent change, only the real you showing up. If you want this love, you must earn it now. You must face everything you've been running from, your fear of not being enough, your habit of shutting down, your wounds from the past, and heal them. Maybe there are reasons you ran that go deeper than this relationship. Old wounds and ghosts that have haunted you long before she ever came into your life. Perhaps once, long ago, life taught you to expect disappointment. Maybe someone you loved abandoned you, or the world made you feel like vulnerability was dangerous. So you built a fortress around your heart, and convinced yourself you were safer behind it. Those scars from your past, the fear of not being worthy, the fear that if you show your true self you'll be rejected, they have been quietly steering your choices. They told you it was better to leave before you could be left, to harden your heart instead of ever having it broken. But now you see with crystal clarity, holding on to those old stories will only create the very loss you feared. To have any chance at a future with her, or even a future where you aren't at war with yourself, you must confront these wounds. You must let the past go and finally allow yourself to heal. Only then can you love her freely and let her love you, without the shadow of yesterday standing in the way. By now, you've probably opened her chat thread countless times and typed out messages you never sent. How do you even begin to articulate what's happening inside you? I'm sorry. Feels too small, too obvious. I miss you. Doesn't capture the depth of this ache. You write, you hesitate, and then you delete the words, knowing they're not enough. Some part of you understands that 1,000 apologies won't matter if they're not backed by genuine change. You could pour your heart out in text or show up at her door in the pouring rain with tears in your eyes, but even that won't bridge the distance unless it comes from a truly transformed version of you. So you sit with the silence a little longer, letting it burn this truth into you. If you reach out to her now, you have to be ready to give her nothing less than your authentic, awakened self, consistently and wholeheartedly. Nothing else will do. In this crucible of pain, something powerful is happening. You find a resolve forming that wasn't there before. A part of you whispers, enough? Enough of the lies, enough of the running, enough of living half alive. You realize you cannot spend the rest of your life haunted by what-ifs. If there's even a sliver of hope to make things right, you know you must take it. There's a shift, subtle at first, where your desperation begins to transform into determination. The love you feel, which once only made you panic, now gives you a strange courage. Amid the fear, there's a growing clarity about what needs to be done. It becomes clear that this journey isn't just about winning her back, it's about saving yourself from the emptiness of a life without authentic love. So here you stand at the crossroads. On one side is the path you've walked so many times, the road of avoidance, pride, and false safety, a road that leads back into an empty night, into the same lonely cycle you're in now. On the other side is a new path, unknown and unguaranteed, lit by the faint glow of possibility. That is the path of growth, vulnerability, and courage. It's the path where you fight for your happiness, where you own up to your mistakes and strive to be better, where you risk your ego to follow your heart. Terrifying? Yes. But it's the only path that has any chance of leading you back to her, and to the man you truly want to be. Understand this, you cannot remain where you are. The time for indecision has passed. The universe, in its own mysterious way, has cornered you into evolution. It has stripped away your hiding places and given you clarity. Now it asks for your answer. There is no room for pride or hesitation anymore. Your ego has run out of tricks and places to hide. All that remains is the choice before you, a choice that will define not only your relationship with her, but your relationship with yourself. This is your threshold. It's as if you are standing at the edge of a great chasm, looking at two possible futures. Behind you lies the familiar darkness of everything you used to be. Before you, across the gap, glimmers the light of the life and love that could be. You stand on the edge of who you have been and who you could become. And the truth is, no one can push you across that gap but you. You have to find the courage to leap. You have to trust that when you commit to change, the bridge will form beneath your feet. She made her choice when she pulled her energy back. She chose herself, truth, and growth. Understand that in choosing herself, she did not slam the door on you out of spite. She simply stepped out of the cycle of suffering and into a higher vibration. She elevated her life to match her worth, to live in the honesty and self-respect she had long neglected. And that shift in her energy is exactly what you are feeling now as pressure. It's the distance between where you stand and where she has risen. If you ever want to stand beside her again, you must close that distance. You must rise to meet her level, to match her in truth and presence. Her growth is calling out to yours. Her evolution is the challenge set before you. Will you evolve as well, or let her move on without you? If you do choose to rise to her level, you may one day look back on this moment with gratitude. You'll see that her decision to love herself and walk away wasn't a rejection of you at all. It was a profound act of love for both of you. By refusing to accept less than she deserved, she silently urged you to become more. It was the only way to jolt you awake. In time, you might even thank her for the pain that finally broke you open, thank her for the boundary that became your turning point. Sometimes the most loving thing a soul can do is to stop enabling your comfort and stagnation. She did exactly that. And now, because of it, you have a chance to finally become the man you were always capable of being. The love between you isn't gone, it's waiting on the other side of this threshold. Not the old distorted version of love that was entangled with fear and inconsistency, but a new kind of love, one forged in truth, respect, and mutual growth. A love where either of you has to dim your light or carry the whole burden alone. Imagine it, a partnership where you both communicate openly, where her eyes don't hold hurt but shine with trust, where your heart isn't guarded by walls but protected by the strength of your authenticity. That kind of union is within reach, but only if you step up and claim it by becoming the man you're meant to be. If you close your eyes, you can almost glimpse what could be on the other side of this work. You can see a version of yourself, a little older, wiser, calmer, standing in front of her with your heart on your sleeve. In that vision, you aren't choked by fear or fumbling with excuses. You're speaking from your soul, telling her everything you never had the courage to say before. How much she means to you. How sorry you are that it took losing her to wake you up. How committed you are to growing and healing. You see her eyes well up, not with pain this time, but with understanding, maybe even hope. In this possible future, you're not afraid to reach for her hand and promise that you will never run again, and truly mean it. There's warmth and lightness between you reminiscent of when you first fell in love, but now it's stronger, anchored in honesty. You imagine the two of you perhaps laughing about something trivial, or sitting in comfortable silence, simply grateful, knowing that after all the storms, you found your way back to each other as the people you were always meant to become. This vision isn't a fantasy, it's a potential reality. One that only becomes possible if you step forward and transform your life in the here and now. No, this isn't the end of your story. It's the turning point. And if you wonder whether you're capable of making it across this threshold, remember this. The very fact that you are here now, feeling every ounce of this heartbreak, means that your heart is open. It means you have not truly given up on love, not on her, and not on yourself. That love inside you is your power. It's the force that can drive you to do the hard things, to face the shadows you used to run from. You are stronger than your fear, and this pain is proof, because you're still standing still breathing, still aching for something true. Use that strength. Let it carry you forward. This is the end of the phase where you lived half in and half out of your own life. The solstice has brought you to your darkest night, and in that darkness it handed you a choice, a chance. So, Divine Masculine, what will you do now? The dawn is here. The light is returning. Will you rise with it?